One, don't get the exact crop you need while filming. Give yourself some margin room, at least a couple of inches around your subject, to give you room to zoom in a little digitally after the fact if you need to. It just gives you a little bit more control, and that level of zoom isn't going to mess with things too much. There's a lot of times where you might think you have a shot and you're a little too close. You see this a lot with close-ups. You can always zoom in just a little bit more later, and then if not, then you're kind of stuck with your head. The lighting is not... Come back a little bit, because if you're a beginner, you're probably going to be a little too close anyways. It's a good looking shot here. The sun going down, the light in my friggin' eyes. Where's this guy been? Huh? Well, I've been here all along. I've been finishing a film called Kramer. It's my first feature film. There's a lot that I've learned on this first film, and I wanted to share a lot of this stuff. Some of it I knew, but some of it you just got to get into practice. Sometimes we can get in our head, and the best way to just do things is just to go for it. These are things that I haven't really seen much of that have helped me. 2 is that you need to film everything brighter than you need it to be. Not super bright, but just brighter. You don't have to get the perfect lighting values in your scene, the perfect key. You can do that later in the grade. Blockbusters, Hollywood movies do this. 2 of the best examples I can think of is 1, The Whale. They actually filmed way brighter than they needed to give them control later to dim things, because you can always dim things much easier than you can brighten them up. Both come with their challenges, but just film a little bit brighter than you need. The second one, Robert Pattinson's Batman movie. It's Batman fighting Catwoman. It's all dark and moody, but behind the scenes, it's pretty bright and well lit. Give yourself that extra room for creative freedom, especially if you're not 100% comfortable with how you think the lighting might be turning out on the day. Number 3, or as the Germans say, number 3 is film everything wider than you need, and make sure they're more white than you need them to be, unless you're 100% certain that you're going for a certain key, a certain look in your scene, and they're separated well enough where I could adjust these tones in the color grade. So I've got a fairly balanced, it's cooler, it's a white light over my shoulder, and then I've got a warmish one right there in my freaking eyes. 4 is separate your light from your foreground and your background. Try to separate your foreground and background with different light temperatures. It's okay to push them warmer, especially if one is much more noticeably cooler. But if you have 2 lights that are both the same color, it's hard to make things less saturated if those colors are all bleeding and they're the same color in the final grade. And anytime you can also separate that foreground from even closer foreground, the better. So you want to have your composition layered. That's the biggest and most important thing, is layer your composition. Look at this. Look how much better this looks. If I'm talking here, and I got this plant here, I got this lamp here, isn't that dynamic? This isn't the best example, but it's kind of cool, and you get the idea. People call that dirtying the frame, if you will. Number 5, not to film with strictly blue lighting. There was a good episode on Corridor Digital where they talk about how blue light is not very easy to work with after the fact if you're filming with like strict blue. They were talking about lightsabers, but still, you can go with a fairly unsaturated blue and it still look really well. Then you can saturate it more in post. You have more control with wider light. Number 6, another one, a lot of the masters will tell you, don't film with too many lights. Try to keep it down to 3 or less. That constraint actually can create a lot of cinematically beautiful compositions. If you can film with only 1 light, even better. But the thing is, remember your genre, because comedies are typically well lit and brighter than something that is more dramatic or moody. Not saying it can't be done. There's plenty of room for people to experiment and bring more artistic and dramatic lighting into comedy movies, but the tone, it just helps establish the tone of the movie, which also early on lets the viewer know what they're watching. That's why. It's like reading the first page of a book. You know what to expect going forward. So you just get bounce boards or reflectors and just prop it up down here, and it'll give you a nice little fill in the negative space, the dark areas. And you can do a lot with very little. You got to think about the background a lot and how it separates your actor. So you don't always have to use a rim light. In a case like this, I don't need a rim light because I'm separated pretty well from the background. It looks nice, you can do it, you don't need it. If you look at old paintings, the shadow falls off into darkness. So you don't see where the shadow starts on their face, for example, here, and where it ends off into the darkness of the other side. So just depending on what you need for your shot, just think about that stuff. I have a basic rule where I don't use a rim light if it's somewhat bright enough behind me. And I do, if I do want that extra separation and there's still lighting in the background. There's a really good shot, and I love looking at the lighting in all the Harry Potter movies. You can see how they go almost like theatrical lighting from the first movies to more motivated lighting later on. There's a shot I love in the Deathly Hallows Part 2 where Harry's sitting on the bed talking to, first he's talking to Griphook, and then he goes into the other room and he's talking to Ollivander. That's it. There's a light purposely on the wall behind Harry where it's just lighting up the room, but it separates him from the background just beautifully. And I love that lighting. Number 7. With motivated lighting, you don't have to depend on the light from something like a lamp actually lighting you up. Unless it's giving enough light, like I'm happy with how that's lighting up my shoulder. If I wanted it to light me up more, most people already know this. You have the lamp, but then you have another light somewhere off to the side, putting more warm light on you. And it looks nice. Number 8. Unless you have a very specific reason to, try not to film using lower than 20 millimeter lens. The idea is something about digital and wide angle shots completely rips me out of the movie. There are movies that I've been watching where it almost feels cheesy, and it almost feels immediately like you're watching a movie and it feels fake and doesn't make sense. I get it. Is it Deakins? He said, most cinematographers know this and go by this rule, but if you want the viewer to feel closer or like it's a more intimate shot, film with a wider angle lens, something lower in the millimeter range. So 35 up close is going to make you actually feel up close rather than shooting with an 80 millimeter across the room, but still having the actor's head close up in your frame. And I agree with that, but I've realized when you start going too low, it just breaks it and it feels fake and weird, especially if it's not film. There are exceptions to this. Sometimes you need to show off more of what's going on around, but I would just say limit the use of wider angle lenses up close. That's where it really ruins my time. You know what I mean? So I tested this because once I realized that, I watched older movies with close-ups with wider angle lenses up closer to people, and they hold up a lot better than modern stuff does. Film or digital, I don't care. Just whatever you can use to get your project done and tell a beautiful story, that's all that matters. But the one area where it does fall apart for me is this. Other than that, we're good. It's all right. Just make your movie. Above 35 millimeters up this close, please. There's just something that feels so cinematic about a 50 millimeter lens to get a close-up. The way that looks just registers in my mind as classic film, all the 90s movies. Even though you may not feel as up close and personal, I prefer it, and I love that. Number 9. So this one, I learned from my pal, Michael B. Jordan, and my pal, Ben Affleck. A couple of my pals. Was I there? No. I watched a video where they were talking to each other about directing. Film rough takes. Most of us independent filmmakers are filming ourselves and don't check the footage after every take. Michael B. Jordan, he said somebody told him this. Get at least 3 takes, trying a couple slightly different things, and then watch them and see what's working, and then improve or iterate on that, and then do it again. Because if you're directing yourself, then you need to see if it's working. And 10, fake things with sound. In the beginning of Jerry Maguire, when he's talking about being an agent and he's starting to find his soul, basically, there's a transition that happens. His client gets taken down in a big injury while playing hockey. I never even realized that we don't see that. We never see that. We just hear a couple of seconds of audio. He got down, and then...
Lately, it's gotten worse.
Oh, he goes down!
But just with those couple of seconds of audio, you didn't have to... It's showing in an easier and a different way that can help you get the story going faster and let you be a little bit more concise. And also maybe save a little money. This also is a big deal in animation. So if you're somebody who's doing 3D animation, You can show a lot of stuff off screen and just have the sound in our minds fill in those blanks, and it makes it work. And you almost feel like you're still seeing some of these things happen. 11, use the clapperboard for everything. It just helps you keep things in track. Unless you're absolutely certain that you're not going to mix it up or mess it up or lose it, try to keep takes separate. Sometimes you're going to keep things all in one go, and sometimes that's preferred. I like doing that a lot of the time. For example, if I were to be filming a shot where I have to say a line over and over, instead of stopping it, changing it, and then syncing up and all that stuff again and again, sometimes I'll say, all right, recording scene 3, a shot 2, continuous takes or something like that. So I know that in the audio, I'm going to be doing several of those all together. But the clapperboard helps, especially visually, like immediately. You can see that in your files. Number 12, keep practical lights out of frame center. So this lamp, it's obvious. I wouldn't want that right behind me. Balance things in your composition. And if it's a light, that's just going to be weird. It'll light things weird. And then if you're trying to use it as motivated lighting, that's going to be weird. So just keep lights to the side. Number 13, this one's huge. I don't think enough people think about this. I think they're starting to, but I remember watching, again with Harry Potter, how shots led into each other seamlessly, and it just makes things flow so much better to where you don't even realize a scene has just ended and a new one has started. So there's one where Harry and Ron and Hermione are all talking, and then as the scene ends, they look up and Hagrid's standing in the doorway, and he's like, hey, come over here. And then that's the end of the scene. Always plan your transitions. There's so many different kinds you can do, and make sure they make sense in your film. Match cuts are amazing. They don't belong everywhere, but when you can use them, make sure you have something compositionally that you can match cut to, or story-wise, like Hagrid, that'll help lead you into another scene. Number 14, if you don't have, or if you forgot to film or plan a transition, use audio from the next scene to lead into that before the cut. You see that to this day all the time, and it works. Even if there's a good transition, having the audio playing before, I guess it's kind of like a, what is it? Is it a J cut? Think about your transitions. Lead in with audio. Number 15, you might have the urge, once you've uploaded your files to your computer, to delete the ones you know you don't need. You go through a few and you're like, oh, those, I know I'm not going to use those. You delete them. Just don't do that until you name them all, because you're going to have a hard time lining those up and syncing your audio if they're not named. Name all your files, then delete the ones you don't need. I know, pretty obvious stuff, but you run into things when you're doing things on the flippity flip, doing things cool by yourself, independent. That's what that means. Number 16, plan and stage, rehearse. Do a rehearsal day. Figure out how you want your camera to move through the space dynamically, when things will be said. It'll help you get cues of how you can get your actor interacting with the environment at certain points of the script, of the read-through. But on top of that, it can allow you to find fun things for your character to do in the environment while they're doing their scenes, because you want it to be interesting while they're talking and while things are happening. Number 17, just pay attention to your environment. Aside from everything I just said, look for things that your character can use. Look for areas where you can set up lights in a unique way, or add impact, or to make your scene more relatable or enjoyable. In Snyder's Save the Cat, that's called the Pope in the Pool. So it's this guy is swimming, he's a Pope. You're like, oh, I didn't know the Pope swims. But you're hearing exposition at the same time, and it makes that entertaining, and you can digest that a little easier. The Burbs, when Tom Hanks and his neighbor are sitting talking in the kitchen, his neighbor is eating everything in sight, and he even eats dog food accidentally. But it makes the scene more enjoyable. It's not just information coming across. There's like background stuff happening. It's almost like sub plot of the scene.
No, I haven't. Nobody in the block has. Apparently the last house, it only burnt to the ground.
Neighbors from hell.
These Klopeks are strange.
Number 18, leave room for happy accidents. They can really add a whole lot to your script. And I think that's one of the most fun parts about filmmaking is not only are you making your story come to life, but you're finding ways to add life to it. Make it more fun for everybody. Marvin, in my movie Kramer, he messes up his line, says a couple of words backwards, bursts out laughing because it was unintended and it sounds funny to him. I kept that in because his character, who's a kid, he's like maybe 11 in the movie. It's something a kid would do, and it kind of contrasts the seriousness of my character just looking at him. It adds this whole extra little bit of magic
And we
and
just wanted to
charm.
bounce on and move back. Oh, sorry.
So look for those happy accidents and work them in. Number 19. If you mess up a take, keep rolling and see what happens. If something unexpected happens, keep your characters in character and have them react to it and keep going. You're going to create chances for more organic interactions of your characters in the scenes, and it's just a good practice to have all around, and it's what all the big time actors are doing. Heard Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about this, where his gun messed up on him on Terminator, but he kept shooting because he knew that if it was a good take, they can add in all the other stuff later. And I think they ended up and used that one. It's all about giving you all the tools and all the possible extra stuff you could use to make the best version of your movie ever. Number 20, go through each shot, film it exactly as you wrote it. Get a few takes of that until you find one where you're like, nailed it, that's it, that's the one. And then film a few more where you have your actors try something different or say things in their own words. Just kind of loosely change it up a little bit and see if you can find something as well to complement the scene. And you might find something better than what you wrote. It's most likely going to be pretty much what you wrote with just a little extra flavor. Number 21. This is another one I learned from my buddy Michael B. Jordan and my buddy Ben Affleck. I wasn't there, but I saw it in their video. Take a minute to think if you need to. You want to make sure if something's not working right, give yourself a minute to figure out why. Why don't you like that scene? Is it because how your actor said that thing isn't hitting the emotional marks that you were hoping it would? Or is it that there's something weird with the way that they're staged? Take a minute to think about if something isn't working, how it can be improved, or why it's not. And then also take a minute to think about how you can convey that to your actors, because that's important for them to know if you're wanting them to change their performance to get the desired result. Number 22. This one also relates to filming things as you wrote them and then trying some improv. Try things a few different ways is the big idea, and see if there's anything that can come out that'll surprise you from that. Number 23. Here's a good one. This was another technical one. I started filming with audio enabled on my DSLR and on my field recorder, Zoom 6. You barely saw it there. The idea is in DaVinci Resolve, it's so easy for me to sync up audio because I can just select audio from you and then the audio from this and then sync based on waveform, and it'll do a lot. It'll take care of me real good. Number 24. If you're doing heavy masking work, make a new timeline. Take that composition into the timeline, mask it, human masking, or the smart mask, whatever it is. Do your color grade, and when that's how you want it, export that, and then re-import that, export it as an AVI so that it's lossless pretty much. Bring that back into your main timeline so that you have something real time that you can either color grade further or it's just ready to go and it's not going to slow down your main composition. This is really helpful because there's this weird thing with magic masking where if you change something in your color grade, for some reason, if you enable or disable something, a node beforehand, then your magic mask, it'll need you to run the track from the beginning to end again and again and again. And I had to do that a lot. So listen to what I say about these things for your sake, because I know I'm listening to what I'm saying right now. Number 25. I don't know if most people even talk about or think about, but I haven't seen much on it. Think about where your microphone is in the scene when you're recording it. Because not all audio is going to sound like the microphone's right in front of you. And it sounds very different. If I record myself here, talking here, it's very loud and very clear to you. Also, the warmth is a little different and you're not getting as much room sound. But sometimes you want that. There are a lot of times in movies where even when characters are far away, you can tell the microphone is close, and it's great. It works. I love those scenes. I love when it makes sense. But sometimes you want that room sound. Sometimes you want the microphone to be further away. So plan for those scenes. If you want to feel more entrenched in a space, move your microphone where you want that sound to behave accordingly. And then if you're having to do pickup recordings of that audio again later, try to reenact that by putting the microphone further away. This is me right here. Sounds good? Listen to this. I'm pretty far away in this room, and it's getting real spooky in here. So think about that. It also changes the way that you can do audio correction. Number 26. Take pictures of your lighting setups and the settings on them of every shot that you film that has a different lighting setup. Because odds are you're going to have to do some reshoots at some point. And if you know where your lights are by reference imagery, that's going to save you hours. And if you know the settings lighting setup on your lights, how bright they were, the temperature, that's going to save you hours. So if you save all those hours together, you're going to have a couple hours saved per day. It's a lot of hours. Look at that. Look at that little eye glare. That's chef's kiss. I'm an artist too. I paint, I draw. Check out my movie trailer. It's right here for Kramer. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. Or if you just want to see something goofy, because I make funny, goofy videos, just click this one here, right where this reflection of a light is. That's my little Phil. Not Dr. Phil, no. He's a little Phil.